I usually almost always don't have stake in the games. Even last year when our team was in it to win it, it's terrible. I think we talked about this before because both of us are athletic and athletes and play sports and enjoy sports, but I just don't make time to watch sports anymore. So
I didn't really care about the game itself. I just wanted,
to see
you know,
Marvel trailers,
well, so I've watched that many times since then.
I
But
know.
no, I mean, just like having the snacks and hanging out. It's sort of background noise. And then there's like this little bit of excitement. The girls are old enough now. I feel mostly safe letting them watch all the commercials.
Usually it's the halftime show you have to worry about.
Yeah, which the halftime show is fine too. Bethany was actually showering during the halftime show, so Becca was the one who got to
Okay.
watch it, but she was like not really all that interested.
Yeah, she's like, why
She,
am I listening to my parents' music?
she was reading a book while her parents' hip hop rap music was on.
Since it was our rebel music in like
That's right.
middle school and high school.
Which, yeah, so glad that those lyrics are still in my head. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
it works that way.
I remember more lyrics to Lose Yourself than I thought I did. Why? Can't that be freed up for something better?
It's hard when there's an actual restaurant called Mom Spaghetti in Detroit. So I mean, it's made a business out of a song.
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 11 of the Heading to WP podcast. We hit double digits last week, even though it came out a little bit later than we usually like to have them out. But episode 10 was last week and 11 is this week. So we're going to get into talking about some different kinds of WordPress websites. But first, I'll introduce ourselves. My name is Marcus Burnett, and with me, as always, is my co-host, TJ Rogers. How you doing today, TJ?
Salutations, everyone. I'm doing pretty awesome. Again, we talked about this before even recording. That what a quick week. This week has flown by really fast. So it's crazy to be recording again, even though it's really spatially and time wise, it's exactly the same distance between. But yeah, it feels like it crept up on us somehow, which is good. Again, better than just having a slump of a week and being boring and having it be excruciating before getting here. And so that's good. How about you?
It's been a fast, busy week for sure. And then, like I said, our last episode came out a little bit later than usual. And by later than usual, I mean it came out yesterday, which is Wednesday. And now we're recording again on Thursday. So that makes it feel like it's gone a whole lot faster, too, that we just published the last episode and now we're recording the next one. And that's kind of sped up the week for me a little bit, too.
Do that.
We're going to talk a little bit, if you've looked at the title, we're going to talk about what different kind of sites you can build with WordPress, some different examples and stuff. But first, we'll jump into our usual housekeeping section and talk a little bit about what our past week has looked like. So, TJ, why don't you get us started and tell us a little bit about how the last 7 days have gone for you?
Well, as mentioned before, they've gone by really fast.
It's felt like 5.
Yes, it really has. And I've been doing a lot of drawing. Over the weekend, we had a memorial service for several of my close friends' mother who passed away just a few weeks ago on the 28th of January. And it was a bunch of people that I haven't seen in a really long time. So it was nice to see them. Several of them we play on Xbox Live with, so I hear their voices a lot, but forget how old we're getting because everyone's showing up and they've all got, pepper on their face or in their hair. And so it was somber and really good. Some old roommates from Orlando, friends back home in Melbourne, where we're both from. So it was very good and familiar, and it was great catching up with people. And then hanging out a little bit, and I was on the road for a big chunk of the Super Bowl, and so that was interesting, just making sure I was being safe and not trying to pay attention to all the stuff that was going on since it was a very close game, and of course the excitement of halftime and Marvel trailers that were coming out, and the usual $500 trillion ad spots that are usually very, very good. They're all like short films and funny comedic
Yeah.
spots anyway. So they do such a great job storytelling and selling you things and getting information out. So one of the good things about that as well, even though again it is expensive for organizations and companies to take part in, is that you can get important messages out too, because you know a lot of the world is watching the Super Bowl. So there are our eyes and attention are on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so following up the day after and checking some of those out, that's what Monday was for me, was catching up. And so that was good.
Some of my favorite Super Bowl commercials in the past, anyways, have been ones where they're like, they keep the story going throughout the Super Bowl. So they have like 3 or 4 spots
Yes.
throughout. And I didn't see nearly as many of those this time, but I do really enjoy when there's like, oh, here's part 1 of the story. And then, stay with us because we're going to keep this thing going in 2 or 3 more spots in the next few quarters. There was 1 or 2 of those, I think, but not very many this time.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because sometimes, at least this year, it seemed like they split some of those up. Colin Jost and ScarJo,
Oh,
they
yeah.
had their, their Alexa commercial, and those are funny. I think I maybe saw one part of those 2 nights before or something, and so they're skipping. So I think they try to tease people to get anticipation now, and then they can save a little money.
Trailers for the Super Bowl commercials or
well,
teasers.
There's teasers to a trailer within the trailer to start a trailer on YouTube. So
Yeah.
I mean, par for the course in 2022.
Watch this trailer right now. We're like, yeah, that's why I clicked on it, because I want to watch the trailer right now. Get past this.
Exactly. It's so bad we got a trailer within a trailer. Like, Christopher Nolan is somehow seeping into the world of everything.
That guy.
Yes. And then I started to go a little bit deeper. I have a lot of ideas and things like flowing in my mind. And so there's a particular project. This would take like a really, really, really long time because of what it is. And I had an idea for like a video game that is in the vein of like Warzone for kids. So think a little bit more like Fortnite, but even less. I don't know. Violent might be the wrong word.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be more along the lines of like paintball, laser tag,
Okay.
Nerf, and water gun. So that you could pick different game mode types depending on the type of arsenal you want to run.
More
with.
strategic, more tactical, less
Yeah.
about
So some of the different,
less about the shooting, more about the strategy of getting around and stuff.
Yeah. So some of the different, game type, like if you were playing paintball as opposed to, water guns and water balloons, it's a little bit different. And then, maybe having customizations that kids love. And then this is like way, way, way down the road. Cause it takes me a long time to start anything anyway, but like figuring out a licensing and some of those things, how Fortnite gets to pay for Spider-Man and all them within the game. So, don't want to get sued, but it would be fun to have some of those properties and recognizable sort of things that kids love. And then it's all about NFTs these days. So like incorporating some of those newer types of Web3 stuff that is, that can be good for customization and social currency and stuff like that, and uniqueness and standing out from everyone else.
I'm sure we'll be forced to do some kind of Web3 NFT episode at some point, but I need to do a little bit more studying up before we do that.
Oh, absolutely. Ditto. So I was just making notes on that. And then I was working on a website, a freelance website. I didn't totally break it, but I'm having issues with it. And just a friendly reminder, guys, Command S, Control S, backup, save. And so I actually may need your help off air looking at this.
Sure.
And so I was working on that, getting very close to finishing the site and then breaking it. So,
nice.
So that's always fun.
I'll go ahead and just plug it. Get it on the hub by GoDaddy Pro. We have daily backups. All right, moving on.
I should do that. The person I'm doing the site for is hosted with you all.
Perfect.
Yes, so that also is something also we can discuss, because I'm not in the dash a lot in there. What I should be, because I'm also a pro member. So that would be
That you
smart of me
are.
to do. And then I did watch a cool little video about leveraging WooCommerce for learning sites, for e-learning sites. So that was cool and informative. As you know, in the next month or so, I'll probably be starting a freelance project, working on one or two e-learning sites. One would be for a dentist who offers particular courses, most likely to other dentists, and
Mm-hmm.
then one is more like a CPR class. And so, yeah, so that'll definitely both of those will be using WooCommerce and some form of digital e-learning. So that was very great and helpful, what y'all discussed on there. So that was, and then that pretty much encompasses the week.
Nice. Yeah, I'll make sure to include the link to that video too. It's an event that I did with a Skyverge colleague of mine. I guess it's been a few months now since we did that one, but still very relevant info there.
Oh yes.
So I'll share that in the notes. Yeah, thinking back at my week, like we said earlier, it's gone by very quickly. So I'm trying to remember everything that's happened on Friday. Last Friday after we recorded, we had our GoDaddy Wellness Day. And so I took full advantage of that, made sure to just sort of relax. I ran a few errands, did some stuff that I've just been meaning to get to that I haven't been able to get to because you know how things are. Places close after 5 o'clock. I'm usually off around then, and then there's no time to do any of that. You would think that working from home makes that a little bit easier, and sometimes it does, but when your week is full of meetings, it makes it difficult to do that stuff still. So
better running errands than running kilometers, right? That's what I always say.
Ran some errands and had lunch at Chipotle with my wife, Lisa, and just sort of relaxed and had a nice easy day. I think we talked briefly about writing some virtual event operating procedure stuff. We got about 90% of that done. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. It's like 6 separate pages in our documentation system. So there's all sorts of things in there, from setting up the event to actually what to do when you're hosting the event, and social media examples of promoting the event, emails that need to go out to guests that are coming and to attendees that are at the event, and examples of content for all of those things. So we just kind of need to wrap that up in the next week or so. Also published my second Chrome extension. This one is specifically for our team though. So it's unlisted. It's not public in the Chrome Web Store. So you have to have the link to get to it, but it's an extension that I wrote a few weeks ago, and it helps us sort of fast track the process of taking our virtual event videos the day that they're recorded and getting them over onto the YouTube channel. There's a whole process that we have to go through, submitting it to a team that then gets them up on the YouTube channel and has to have all the, title, description, tags, and all that stuff. And so I wrote this extension that kind of shortcuts a lot of that for our team. So we're not jumping back and forth between tabs and copy pasting things and all of that. So I had written that and shared it with the team so that they had the zip file and had to unpack it into their Chrome and all of that. And I wanted something a little bit better so that I could continue to work on it and make it better and allow it to update without having to resend zip files to all our team members over and over again. So the Chrome Web Store requires you to pay like a one-time $5 developer registration fee or whatever. And since I did that for the WordPress Photo Directory Chrome extension last week or a couple weeks ago.
Yes, the bookmarking or favoriting.
Yeah, since I had already paid the fee to make that one available to the public, I was like, well, I might as well go ahead and publish this Chrome extension too and just leave it unlisted and share the link with our team. So I did that. Now I officially have 2 Chrome extensions on the Chrome Web Store, but of course, like I said, only one of them is publicly available. And then had a couple, I think I mentioned it last week, I had a couple of interviews this week, not interviews for me, but interviews that I was interviewing other people to come be part of our field team for for a short period. I think it's 6 months, 3 to 6
Yeah, the
months, something like that. The
rotations. Okay.
rotations. So there was a couple of people that are already part of GoDaddy. They interviewed with myself and two other people on our team. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the next few days, we're going to get together and talk about what we thought about those candidates and which one we think would be a good fit for our team. And yeah, that was interesting. This is the first time that I've been on that side of the interview table, the side of
Right.
interviewing someone else for a position, even though it was still internal GoDaddy people and it was a little different. It was still pretty cool, interesting to be on that side and see, the pressure's all obviously on the person being interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
So try to make them feel comfortable and, ask the questions, get as much information as I can, having a mostly casual conversation with them. So it was pretty cool. And then the only other thing that I have is just kind of an update on the photo directory. I think I mentioned before that I did a lot of that in personal time, and I've now
Yes.
officially been given the opportunity to spend 5% of my week in an official capacity with GoDaddy Pro
Hey.
working on the photo directory. So been uploading more photos, moderating more photos. I think we're almost at 1,600 photos now with over 140 different contributors. And just kind of keeping an eye on that and just building that quality library and stuff. One of the things that I found really interesting is I did a little bit of a dive on what the devices that are being used, the cameras that are being used for these photos, and I have this list of
Okay.
the top 10, and the very first one is a DSLR camera. Then the next 9 in the top 10 are all phone cameras, and it's just a testament to how good phone cameras have become because they all pass all the criteria that we've laid out. We want this to be a really high quality library of photos, and these photos are all passing the criteria and making it into the library. But it's really cool to see all the different like Pixel and Galaxy and iPhones that are taking these incredible shots and that are getting uploaded. So I don't know,
Yeah,
just
they
thought it
really are
was an
phenomenal these days.
interesting stat to
Yeah.
look at, that the one of the top 10 devices is a DSLR, traditional professional camera, and the the other 9 are all phones, all modern smartphones.
Gosh. Who would have thought? Who would have thought in the 40s that your phone would be a camera, would be a notebook, would be
Oh, it would
a
have blown their
book?
minds.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It still
That's
kind of
that's
it still
amazing.
kind of blows my mind, to be honest, that it's all of those things and
And
how
it fits in
good
your pocket.
how good the camera and video is on them and everything else that smartphones do. It is pretty impressive. Yeah, and then it just slides right into your pocket and you have it everywhere you go. It's crazy.
Witchcraft is what it is.
I don't know
Witchcraft.
about that. That's about it for my week. So let's go ahead and slide into our main topic of the day, which is a conversation about what kind of websites we can build with WordPress. So this is not an exhaustive list of all the different websites that you could possibly make with WordPress, but it's just sort of a handful that we've decided are probably the most common uses, and we're going to talk a little bit about each one, maybe some benefits to them, and maybe some tools or plugins that we can think of as we go along. So we have a list of, let's see, I don't know, 6 or 7 here. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it to you for the first one. The first one we have, I think with the first 2 are just going to be like the simplest, the sort of the foundation for some of the other ones that come after that. So the first one we have on the list here is a brochureware site. And TJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about what a brochureware site is?
As you were saying, this category of sites doesn't mean that it's least complex of all of them. A
Mm-hmm.
brochure site can kind of encompass any type of site in which you're not having a ton of functionality. So they can be pretty complex and heavy and deep and very structured. Some of the more simple type ones would be something like a portfolio site. If you were an artist and you just needed to show your work, get exposure, you would go through and make some simple galleries. Now there are so many ways to do this, which again is something that is really great about what we get to do, and also how intuitive it can be once you get into WordPress and using tools like we talked about last week, like page builders, you can quickly get in there and finesse a layout and get grids together and a bunch of pages and different types of content in there. And so this is great for, again, showing off pieces of work that you've done. Other types of sites would be an agency website, particularly, again, if you're not selling anything, if this is mostly informational and you want people to, or potential customers and your audience to understand who you are, what you can do for them, stuff like that, it's really great for that as well. So a very simplistic agency site, any kind of small, medium, large business site you can do. You can do sites where you're showing cars, like say you're Ford and you want to show your cars, and if you're not selling the cars, like say Carvana, that is technically a brochureware type site. And so it can encompass, many kinds of sites and industries. A blog is, a little bit more informational, but again, this is one of those things where that can also kind of fall into e-learning and community sorts of sites, depending on other plugins and extensions you add to it. So again, this can basically be anything that is strictly informational. So again, there's tons of different examples you could use to figure out what a brochureware site is. So they're not very complex, but many sites are brochureware sites. Even the sites that we do at Progressive Dental, where we're just letting people know the types of services that they can get there, if there's any type of products that they can get while they're at the dental office, letting them know the doctors, what their credentials are, contact information, stuff like that, and forms to fill out.
Yeah, there are plenty of sites that really lend themselves to being brochureware sites. But to be fair, there are a lot of the ones that we're going to talk about coming up here probably have an aspect of brochureware to them still. So it's forming kind of a baseline for some of the other sites, but the other ones that we're going to talk about are sort of, they fall maybe in the more of a specialty category, where you don't have to have any of those things. Having a brochureware site alone is enough.
Absolutely.
If that's what your business requires. So it's sort of a foundation, but also it could be the end result as well. Just having a brochureware site, if that's all that your business needs. So right. I'll go ahead and take the next one then. The next one that we have on our list is an online store, and I wrote down WooCommerce specifically. That's where I have the most expertise, the most experience is in the WooCommerce realm. This is a WordPress podcast. There are other online store options for WordPress. WooCommerce isn't the only one, but WooCommerce is arguably the largest, most popular one, and so tend to use that. Talking about a WooCommerce store, you would take probably that brochureware site and add a cart system to it, and that's what WooCommerce does. It's a plugin for WordPress, and it adds the ability to sell something, essentially. And that's something at this point really could be just about anything.
Oh, yeah.
It could be physical goods. If you have a store, let's say you have like an apparel line, you want to sell, shirts, shoes, whatever, ship those out. That's easily done with WooCommerce, mostly out of the box. I'm not going to get too deep into what's required to build an online store. You do need to have the cart system, which WooCommerce provides, and then you need to have some sort of payment system, which is going to be a little bit separate, but ties into WooCommerce. So as long as you have those, like shipping is something that WooCommerce handles out of the box. So if you are doing physical goods, then you can do that end to end within WooCommerce. Put in your physical products, people can buy them. You have the ability to add, the different options. Let's say it's shirts, you want different sizes, different colors. All of that is just configurable inside WooCommerce and being able to sell physical products. So you can do that. On the flip side, you can also sell digital products. And this is something that I've done a little bit of through selling like some photos online or selling ebooks. Some of those things like ebooks tend to be used for like lead generation and stuff. But if there's a lot of valuable content and you think it's worth selling, that's certainly something that you could sell with WooCommerce too, is like a PDF ebook that people can buy. Then they'll have instant access to download it as soon as they buy the product and stuff. So whether you're selling physical or digital stuff, a WooCommerce store is definitely a way to go. And then I have a couple of other things here. So if you're an agency, using an online store to sell some of your services might be a good way to go. Maybe you have some upsells or whatever. People have come to you for, let's say they come to you for a website. They also want to buy, a brochure or something, a flyer. And maybe you've built in the system of services where there's a catalog of services in your site, and they have a client log in, they can log in, they can fill out an order for a flyer or whatever. And then that goes to you and you fulfill it and you send it to them. So there's definitely the ability to sell sort of different services, not just if you're an agency, but that's the example that came to my mind first, just because, the industry that we're in. But being able to sell services online is something that you can do as well. And people just pay for them, and then you just are able to complete the services. And then one of the other things that for like our developer friends out there is there's a software licensing piece that you can get for WooCommerce as well. It's a separate plugin that extends WooCommerce, but allows you to build in some licensing to your software as well. So you can offer your software, again, that's probably on the digital download side, and people will download that. But then to have, to activate the pro features or whatever, they need to input a software license. And so the plugin handles generating the software licenses. And then there's that communication back to the site where it can check the software license to make sure that it exists and is valid and all of that inside the software. So you can sell, WordPress plugins, you can sell app software and stuff, and use the software licenses plugin to sort of extend WooCommerce. So far we've got Brochureware, which kind of is more informational. Then we've got the WooCommerce online store, which extends the abilities of that Brochureware site to be able to sell something. And then the next one we have on the list here is e-learning. And I know that this is something that you've dived into a little bit because I know you're going to be doing some of these. So why don't you tell us a little bit about an e-learning site and what that looks like?
All right. So for e-learning, along with the other categories that we're talking about tonight, has several different variations and varieties and classes within itself. So we've got stuff like virtual learning environments, VLEs. This could be something that a lot of people are now accustomed to, with having not gone through, living through the times that we lived through with the pandemic and having certain types of restrictions.
Is that still happening?
And separations. Oh, well, that's right. We live in Florida, so not so much. But yeah, so we've got that for virtual classrooms for anywhere from elementary school all the way up through college courses. And that can encompass parts of what we'll see in some of the other categories within e-learning, where you can be virtually face-to-face with your teachers and your other classmates. Yeah. And so where you can at least see each other and converse and have conversation and do learning all in a group setting, although you're all separate. We've got another class, which is video streaming services, that for the most part would be free, say YouTube, stuff like that, where there's a massive catalog of people who you've got user-generated content. And so a lot of people are sharing their own information. That too has moved into other social media type channels like TikTok's live streaming, Twitch. I've been watching a lot of Twitch sort of lessons. Companies are really great about that. I mean, my ex and I had gotten an air fryer, and they have so many recipes on their YouTube channel, and they give you a fancy little book a cookbook that's got tons of recipes. But then for the more complex sort of ones, or if they had several steps, or they kind of ran out of room in the physical, you've got YouTube links and QR codes zip you right over there. So there's a lot of learning to be done, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, even Facebook. So it's a large growing type of website that we've got going on. There are other ones where you pay, and then again, as you were saying, some of these categories are just building on top of each other, and then they kind of come together where they're making more complex and flexible, scalable types of websites, depending on the needs of any kind of organization or industry or class. And so we've got Khan Academy, Skillshare, Udemy, which incorporates things like a shopping cart. And then, again, you'll be mentioning this in the next sort of category of sites that we can make with WordPress. Those have subscription-based stuff. Podcast sites, are under that umbrella of e-learning. Webinars and other sorts of courses and self-sustained courses and products that people offer. Say you want to learn how to be a videographer. There are a lot of videographers, photographers that have courses that they can sell, and they've got that stuff mapped out on their site where you can purchase that and bundle things together. Say you're doing an art class and somebody buys or subscribes to your course for a particular thing, say watercolor painting. Once they've subscribed, they can get a discount on other products. This was something great that you and Nick McLaughlin, is that true, had mentioned in the event, talking about LMSs, where you could already be selling your own kind of art supplies, but you can have discounts for people that are subscribed to particular courses or, to the school overall. And so again, great way to sort of build and add your services and products and bundle those together as a way to bring more value to anyone who's coming to your site for e-learning purposes. And then we've got massive online open courses, things like Coursera. Universities and colleges will have this sort of built in, but then this particular type of subset is one where, some programs and colleges within the university will offer free courses. And so you can get in that way and extend your learning there. And that mostly covers e-learning, again, minus the payment portion and subscription and membership stuff and community things, which we'll be getting into as we go down further in the list. But
yeah, I'll get to those in just a moment. I wanted to sort of just hang tight there for a minute and talk a little bit about how you named a lot of different sites there that could have e-learning content on them, but I want to sort of bring it back to bringing it within WordPress and why maybe you'd build your own e-learning within your own WordPress site. And the couple of things that stood out to me sort of directly are, one, you have full control over the content and how it's displayed and how it's presented to people when you do it within your own site.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have a little bit more control over the experience in general. The other thing is all of those, if you're, uploading your courses to those other services, those other sites, minus maybe YouTube, are getting a cut of the earnings there. And so one of the benefits, of course, to those is that there are communities of people that are already looking for content. So it sort of handles a little bit of the marketing aspect and lead generation aspect, but you're paying for that. You're going to have to give them a cut of any of your course earnings to make that happen. So certainly one of the benefits of doing it yourself in your own WordPress site would be just to have, all of the money that you're charging go directly to you. Going to be a few dollars in, payment gateway fees and stuff. But for the most part, that's all going back to you. And then the last example, you kind of hit on this at the very end. And that's something that Nick pointed out in the video as well, is when you sign up for a course, there is the potential for there to be like physical products that come with it, or not come with it necessarily, but are sort of requisites or additional learning materials, workbooks and stuff that whether that's a PDF or an actual physical workbook, could come with the course. And
Yes.
having that all within your own system, within your own, let's say, WooCommerce site, if you're coupling e-learning software with WooCommerce, is being able to sell that software and then, or sell that course and then be like, we also have this workbook that goes with it that maybe you'll be interested in. Why don't you go ahead and toss that in your cart too while you're checking out here? And we'll go ahead and set you up with the course and the workbook, where you don't really have that freedom, that opportunity so much with any of the third-party sites to be able to, kind of add those additional pieces to generate more revenue and, to give them more opportunities and more resources to actually work through the course and get everything that they need to out of the course. So I know you listed a bunch of different sites there, and they're all great sites, but just to sort of bring that back into the WordPress ecosystem and, it being one of the types of sites that you can build on WordPress, just wanted to talk through some of the benefits there of maybe having it on WordPress versus looking to, outsource some of the content to third-party sites.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love how you explained that too, is that, again, we're talking about building WordPress sites. So it is great to understand and know how to build those there. But I think that you hit something on the head where using some of these other places or services for the attention and the eyes they already have on it, say putting your ad on the Super Bowl where people are looking, you can give people valuable information there and use that as part of your pull marketing to get them to your site and to see more of your offerings and more of what you can bring to them. And so I love that while we name those examples, but they're mostly great examples for pulling the audience and bringing them to your own site. And so that's really a great thing to remember too.
Yeah,
we can use that for influence and for eyes.
Those could be great places to have like shorter course offerings, or, here's the beginner one. If you want more advanced tutorials, hop over to our site and we're offering those there. So certainly could leverage those as well.
And then, in the show notes, we'll make sure to add these. But again, you and Nick had mentioned a couple plugins like Sensei and LearnDash that can help you get set up in your creation of the courses and type of content and things that you need to get that started and to grow your website as an e-learning site.
Yeah, definitely add that. Like I said at the beginning, that video that Nick shared a lot of really great information in that about creating that. So if that's something that you're interested in, we'll definitely have the link to that video in the show notes. The next one we have here is subscription and membership. You sort of started to touch on it a little bit, but this is going to be not necessarily tied to e-learning, although that certainly could be a component of e-learning. So we split it out into its own section, although it kind of couples with e-learning a lot of times. But more directly speaking, you could set up a subscription and or membership site at your, again, I'm going to tie it to WooCommerce. The company that I worked for before, Skyverge, before we got acquired, actually built the official WooCommerce memberships plugin. So I have a lot of experience there and how that works within WooCommerce. So creating a membership site allows you to do a number of different things. And one of the most common ones is using that membership to provide access to content. Again, that could be the e-learning side of things. Maybe that membership grants access to course content, and that's perfect. That's a perfect example for using memberships within the WooCommerce site. But it could also be used in a number of different ways. Another one that kind of comes to mind is you see a lot of these news site paywalls where, there's an article and you can read maybe the first couple of paragraphs of that article, and then you need to be a member of the site to be able to read the rest. And if it's a site that you trust and you like to read all the articles, then it's probably a no-brainer for you to spend a few bucks a month to be able to read all of the articles. So, of course, depending on how much value you're providing there will determine whether or not customers want to pay for that. But that is a perfect example of what you can use the membership site for, is providing access to additional content. It could be like that. It could be read part of the article, read more if you pay. It could be, we have these free articles that we post once a week, but we also have these deep dive articles that we post, also once a week that are just for our members only. And so maybe it's just additional content. Maybe it's diving deeper into whatever the content for the week is. This sort of reminds me of like a Patreon type thing where people are signing up for your Patreon to get like exclusive content, additional content on top of the like free stuff that's being shared. So this is kind of like a in-house, in your own site sort of Patreon type thing where people can pay for content and maybe you're providing extra articles, maybe you're providing extra videos. Again, with the e-learning part, maybe you're providing extra materials that go along with that e-learning. We talked about people buying, an extra workbook or something to go with. Well, maybe if you have a membership, you can pay for the course, or maybe the course is included. And then you have these workbooks and stuff that are included as well because you're a member that you might not if you weren't a member. So access to content is a big part of that. The other piece to that is a lot on like discounts on products. And you see this a lot for memberships too. If you're a member, you get 10% off of everything in the store, or maybe under this category, maybe there's a members only section of your store. Maybe it's not just discounts, but maybe it's access, not just access to content, but access to a different set of products that the rest of everyone who's not a member doesn't even see. Maybe you have access to products to buy that don't even exist for everyone else. And so tying those two together, there's a lot of different things, a lot of different opportunities there for your like e-commerce store. Or again, if it's just like a news site, maybe it's not really an e-commerce store, although there's this e-commerce piece of memberships powering the additional content or the gated content for, articles and videos and stuff. And so those are kind of the things that are in my mind, some of the examples. Again, I think that opens up a whole wide array of different opportunities.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I think you can, if you just start to think about the different things that you can gate access to or provide as incentives to become a member, maybe it's a combination of those things, right? Maybe you are offering that course and you have these extra materials and people can buy the course and buy the bonus materials, but if they're a member, they get 50% off the materials, or there's all sorts of different combinations of those things that you can do once you have memberships installed.
Well, it's funny. There's one, I don't know why this is what's coming strongly to my mind, but I've seen this on things like skincare for men or things like Dollar Shave Club, Native, who have a massive offering of like soaps, deodorant, stuff like that. A lot of it's like health and beauty type stuff. But like for say Harry's, which is along the similar sort of product line, where like you were saying, you can buy one deodorant, one bottle of shampoo, one of conditioner, or if you're a member, you can have that come every 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. You have a little discount for bundling all those together. But then every once in a while, I specifically remember this from Harry's, I got 2 extra little, brand new, they were still testing the scents and everything, little bottles that you got because you're a subscription member. If you're selling candles and you're making your WooCommerce site and you have membership, you can have, up and coming similarly scents or bundles of new scents or seasonal specials that you can get to people who are members or subscribers. That's really great. Like you said, it opens the door for all types of products, services, learning, stuff like that.
Absolutely. The next one we have on our list here, as we're rattling through, we have a couple more. I'll have you talk a little bit about building like a community site. It's another different way, sort of step away from maybe the commerce side for a moment and talk a little bit about building a community site, something with forums or just a place for people to interact with each other.
Yeah. So one is, again, you can have a more informational site or strictly a site that's a blog, or if you're sharing, say you're a blogger who is also a foodie and you have a particular type of content that's you're just sharing recipes or pairing different types of drinks with recipes, you can have something say discuss or discuss how tomato there are particular plugins that are strictly for.
It's tomato.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I thought it was tomato, because try to get that British accent and be a little bit more high class. Thank you for correcting me. So we've got Discuss, that is specifically for comments and moderating comments, stuff like that, so that you can have a site where you're sharing recipes, and then you can have people, comment on what it was like for them trying it, whether they liked it, if they had their own spin on the recipe, and you can build a little bit of community there where people are coming in and commenting on particular articles or informational pieces and knowledge pieces. Or you can go deeper with, say, something like BB Press, where you're building a little bit more robust forum system, where you can also have people, again, sign up and have user-generated content, say, where they're, populating the site with recipes, or say you want to do a site where people go and they give you some site inspiration that they found. Say you're doing something for web design, and people come in there and they vote on different websites that they liked or web designs that they've seen online. They can put that up there and have the community comment and vote things up and down, stuff like that. Or you can have things where people will have their own sort of user profiles, and you can have people connect in that way and build a lot of community and communication, and again, user generated content. So you're mostly building the framework, and then the users and the audience will populate it and have the site sort of build and grow that way through the users growing themselves. So, sites that are examples of that, say something like Goodreads, Reddit, Quora, even things like CodePen, where that's a little bit of offshoot of e-learning, where you come to get ideas for functionality or design and development, and you can learn code at the same time, and then you can build off of that and save your own, and then people can go use that, and you're building community that way. And Medium, where people are again, they're the ones posting the articles and sharing information that way. And so, again, there are several plugins that can help you do that within WordPress. Discuss, BB Press, and there are others out there, but those are big ones that can help you.
We somewhat intentionally didn't call this a social media site. Yes. And called it community/forums, but I guess it would be like a Facebook group type of system, where I like maybe you have a few different groups, and inside of those you have some topics with threads, people discussing different things. I mean, you could, in theory, build a full-fledged social media site like a Facebook or something on top of WordPress. I don't have any experience doing that. I don't think I have any desire to have any experience doing that, but I like the idea of having sort of these niche sub-communities and being able to discuss video games or coding or, any number of topics, and just having sort of this space where you can talk about this thing that you have a passion about, and know that you're surrounded by a community of other people that have the same passion. You're always going to have to moderate the forums to some degree and worry about what sorts of things are being posted on those. All these social sites that you mentioned and stuff have those same issues.
Oh, absolutely.
So that is what it is. But for the most part, if you can niche down into a group of people that are obsessed in a good way about the same thing, that are really passionate about that same thing, you're not going to have a ton of that. And so, it's a cool way to be able to bring that in. There are other platforms where you can kind of build off of what other people have going on. Again, like we mentioned in the e-learning piece, you then have less control over all of it in terms of the actual functionality and content, for sure, but also in terms of the design and the experience and different groups of communities. Different communities are going to have different wants and needs for the way that the experience is laid out and all of that. So that's again, my pitch to have it within your own WordPress site rather than, using one of those services that exist out there already is just having that ultimate control over the experience and being able to provide the best, safest, maybe in some cases, experience for the people coming to your community. The last one that we have on our list here is an event/booking site. And this is, again, I'm going to tie this back to WooCommerce. This is, I guess, not necessarily something that people would have to pay for, but in most cases, it would be something that people would pay for, or at least at some point. So a couple of examples that I have here is, let's say you have like a concert site or a band. You're a band and you're going to play at shows and you want to sell tickets to those shows. Building some kind of event ticketing system inside your site. There are plugins for this. I believe it's called WooCommerce Events or something like that. In any case, building off of the WooCommerce ecosystem and some of the plugins, being able to just go ahead and directly sell your concert tickets. Again, there are places like Eventbrite and places that handle this already, but they're going to take a cut, and their experience the experience for your customers is going to be the Eventbrite experience, not the whatever your band is experience. And so being able to tie that in, it's part of your brand. The experience is great. You can offer at that point to sell merch while they're buying tickets. Again, we tie this back into being able to use the WooCommerce platform that you already have installed to add things. They could download a track that's unreleased while they're buying your concert tickets. That digital download, that'd be really cool. I want to buy a ticket to your concert or your show, and you're going to give me this track that is unreleased that you'll play at the show, and only the people that bought the tickets there will know the song exists and be able to enjoy it for that, for what it is and all that. So that's one. And then maybe on the not necessarily pay for side, let's say you run something like a salon, and you need to be able to have like a booking calendar and be able to make sure that you're not double booking, have people showing up at the same time. Having that built into your WooCommerce system allows your WooCommerce site, honestly, to handle all of the logistics there. That's something that traditionally take over the phone. You look at the calendar, try to figure out with other people's calendar, like where can you come in? What time do you work? What time works for you? This is a whole lot easier if someone can come to your site, see what's available, and decide whether that time works for them or not.
Oh, yeah.
Pick a time, come into the salon. Maybe they pay online. Maybe they don't. Maybe they come into the store after they've booked online for free and pay in store. But just having that booking system in place allows you to provide that for your customers and make it very easy, very frustration free to be able to go and book a time that works for them. And then similarly, I was thinking like virtual events in this time where everyone's dealing with the pandemic and doing lots of virtual events instead of in-person events, being able to register for those, like on the site. I want to register for that, come to it at this time. Maybe it's only limited to 20 people or something. And so you can have that cut off within your site as well. People can register for the event, and then they get emailed a receipt, whether it's paid for or free. They get emailed a receipt. Maybe that receipt has the Zoom link in it or whatever for the virtual event. And that way you can just use your system to allow for event registration as well. So
yeah. Hashtag buzzword alert. Great thing that also will go on top of that in the near future, as Gary Vee probably talks about a lot. NFTs, blockchain, right there with those concert tickets. That's what that special track is.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
we like I said, we probably will end up doing a Web3 NFT episode at some point after we do a little bit more research
around it.
Yeah, do a little bit more research. But I did listen to a really good Do the Woo podcast, and he was talking about NFTs in a way that was relatable and actually made something click for me a little bit in some of the opportunities. And so I'll list that I'll add that in the show notes too, because I think it was a really good episode. If you're struggling a little bit with NFTs and like, okay, so it's a JPEG that I can just right click and save as.
We all go to right now,
right? if you're struggling with the concept and what the future looks like for that, I think there's some really good information in that particular Do the Woo episode that put some perspective on it for me. That I was like, okay, I see where this is going, and I see how this could work out for everyone. So I'll add that in the show notes too.
Okay, yeah.
I think with that, we're gonna go ahead and go into our last section here and talk a little bit about what the coming week looks like. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the next 7 days has in store for you?
So, on leading up to day 8 from today, I work for a pretty awesome company who also likes to reward and show appreciation to those that work for/with them. We have an award ceremony at the end of every year, and I was lucky enough to be a recipient of an award. And so the 8 or 9 award winners, we're all going on most expensive paid trip to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So that's very exciting. That's crazy. Also crazy because we're also in the times that we're in. So we'll see what happens. We'll have to be, tested when we leave, tested while we're there, tested before we come back. So hopefully it's not any longer than the 8 days we plan for going there and coming back. So that's coming up. I'm super excited about that.
It's not a wellness day, but it'll do.
Yes, it will definitely do. And then I will be trying to iron out more kinks in some of our other templated themes for the websites. I don't think I mentioned this in housekeeping, but I did get to work on some of that during this past week. And then I will try, hopefully I'm not too distracted by dreaming of Brazil. I have a lot of ideas rolling around here, so I need to just get some of these things out and started because they won't finish themselves if they don't even get started. So I'd like to start building a personal site / side project site in the sort of interim before I get the freelance e-learning dental course one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would like to try to document or create tutorials along the way so that we can see the project from start through completion and have that here on Heading 2 as well, since I'll be working in WordPress, maybe WooCommerce, definitely Elementor. So that's what it's looking like for me.
I don't know if it's too meta, but it would be nice to see a WordPress course about building a WordPress course website.
Mind blown.
No way that could get confusing.
It's like watching Tenet for the 9th time.
Right. Not a whole lot so far planned for my week. I'm sure it'll be busy as usual, but the things that kind of come to mind for me next week, I do have a panel event that we're doing and have some smart people come in to join me on the GoDaddy Pro event next week, talking about content, SEO, maintenance, dev partnerships, other ways to sort of increase revenue if you're an agency or a freelancer by sort of offering some additional services and stuff, and not doing it all yourself. It's giving some tips and stuff on how you can contract that out or figure out what works for your business and stuff. So make sure you check that out on Wednesday. And other than that, I think some more photo directory stuff. Like I said, I'm more officially involved in that now in my day-to-day at GoDaddy Pro. And I think the official Make Team photo directory page went live today. So I think it's at make.wordpress.org/photos. And that's where all our sort of photo directory team stuff will start to be posted, and people can follow along there. And love to have a few more moderators come on board and moderate some photos. Right now it's a handful of us, and as submissions continue to grow, we're going to need some more people to help moderate photos. So would love to see some more people join us in those efforts and in submitting photos. I really want to have a really great directory of photos to be able to pull from for website projects and other design projects and stuff. And I think it's going to be really great. But need to get some additional photos in there. Like I said in the housekeeping, I think we're at almost 1,600 or so, but definitely going to be thousands in here at some point. And I think they're going to be really high quality, really great stuff. That's about it for my week at the moment. I'm sure when we get to next week's housekeeping, I'll have some additional stuff that got tossed in along the way, especially meetings and events and all that stuff. But that's all I can think of right now. So I'll go ahead and wrap us up and close us out here for this week. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a favorable rating in your favorite podcast app or website. It makes a difference. It helps others discover the show. To be notified when future episodes come out, please go ahead and subscribe as well. For more about us and what we're up to, check out our website, heading2.com, and follow us on Twitter, also at heading2. If you have any questions you'd like answered on the show, go ahead and send those to hello@heading2.com. And thanks again for listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Bye, everyone.
See ya.